In the village of Umuokoro, there was a man named Nnamdi who did something strange. At funerals, while others cried and mourned, Nnamdi laughed loudly. His laughter wasn't quiet or nervous, it was full of joy, like he had heard a funny joke. The villagers did not understand it. How could someone laugh at such a sad time? Children ran away from him, and adults whispered behind his back. Some said he was cursed, while others thought he was crazy. But Nnamdi never explained why he laughed. He simply smiled and walked away. One morning, the village woke up to a sad news. Elder Obina, the wisest and kindest man in Umuokoro, had passed away. Obina was loved by everyone because he always helped those in need. When children were hungry, he fed them. When neighbors fought, he made peace. His death left the entire village in tears. Plans for a big funeral began, with everyone preparing to honor him, but deep down the villagers were worried about one thing. Would Nnamdi come to the funeral? And if he did, would he laugh? On the day of the funeral, the villagers gathered under a large tent near the village square. Everyone wore black clothes and their faces were full of sorrow. Obina's family sat at the front, crying softly as the priest stood to begin the ceremony. The air was heavy with sadness, and no one smiled. Then, just as the priest started to pray, Nnamdi appeared. He stood at the back, wearing his usual wrinkled shirt and dusty sandals. The villagers held their breath, afraid of what might happen next. As the priest spoke about Elder Obina's life, Nnamdi suddenly began to laugh. It wasn't a small laugh. It was loud, echoing through the crowd like thunder. The mourners froze, their eyes wide with shock. Obina's son, Chike, jumped to his feet, his face red with anger. "How dare you laugh at my father's funeral?" he shouted. The villagers murmured angrily, some calling for Nnamdi to be thrown out. But Nnamdi did not stop. He laughed harder, clutching his stomach as if he couldn't help himself. His behavior left everyone confused and furious. Chike stormed towards Nnamdi, his fists clenched tightly. "What is wrong with you?" he yelled. "Why do you laugh when we are mourning?" The crowd moved closer, waiting for Nnamdi's answer. But Nnamdi only wiped the tears of laughter from his eyes and smiled. "I am not mocking your father," he said softly. "I laugh because I see what you cannot." The villagers gasped. "What do you mean?" Chike demanded. Nnamdi shook his head. "You would not understand," he said. Then, without another word, he turned and walked away, leaving everyone in silence. After the funeral, the villagers couldn't stop talking about what had happened. "Why would Nnamdi say such strange things?" one woman asked. "Maybe he knows something we don't," another replied. Some believed Nnamdi had a secret, while others thought he was just mad. Chike, however, couldn't let it go. He felt humiliated and angry. "He disrespected my father," Chike said to himself. "I will find out what he meant, no matter what." Determined, Chike began asking questions about Nnamdi's past, hoping to uncover the truth behind his strange laughter. Before Chike could learn much, tragedy struck the village again. A young woman named Amaka, known for her kindness and beauty, suddenly died. The villagers were heartbroken, and family was filled with grief. Amaka's mother cried loudly, saying her daughter's death didn't feel like an accident. Rumors of foul play spread quickly. The funeral was planned for the next day, and the villagers whispered nervously. "Will Nnamdi come?" they asked. And if he did, would he laugh again? Everyone was on edge as they gathered for Amaka's funeral. The funeral began under cloudy skies. Amaka's family sat in the front row, crying as the priest said a prayer. Suddenly, just like before, Nnamdi arrived. He stood at the back, his face calm and unreadable. For a moment, it seemed like he might stay quiet. But as the priest continued, Nnamdi started laughing again. His laughter was loud and unsettling, filling the air with an eerie sound. Amaka's mother screamed. Why are you laughing at my daughter's death? The crowd turned towards Nnamdi, furious and confused, but he did not stop. This time, Nnamdi stopped laughing and looked at Amaka's mother with a serious face. I do not laugh at your daughter, he said. I laugh because the truth is near. The crowd gasped, and the people began murmuring. What truth? Someone shouted. Stop speaking in riddles. Another cried. But Nnamdi did not answer. Instead, he turned and walked away, leaving the villagers even more confused. Chike watched him closely, his anger growing strongly. He knows something, Chike thought. I will make him tell me. Determined, he decided to confront Nnamdi one more time. That evening, Chike followed Nnamdi to his small hut at the edge of the village. The sun was setting and the air was cool and quiet. Nnamdi was sitting outside, staring at the sky when Chike arrived. Tell me what you meant, Chike demanded. What truth are you talking about? Nnamdi sighed and looked at Chike. The dead do not rest until their stories are told, he said. Chike frowned and confused. What stories? He asked. Nnamdi's face grew serious. Your father and Amaka were killed, Chike, and the truth will not stay hidden. Chike froze, staring at Nnamdi in disbelief. What are you saying? My father was poisoned? Amaka was killed? He asked, his voice trembling with both anger and fear. Nnamdi nodded solemnly. The dead speak, Chike. I hear their cries. Elder Obina and Amaka's spirits are restless and they demand justice. Chike shook his head. This is madness. You expect me to believe you can hear the dead? Nnamdi sighed. You don't have to believe me, but the truth will reveal itself. Listen carefully and you will find out too, he said. Chike returned to the village, shaking and unsure of what to do. He told no one about his conversation with Nnamdi, but he couldn't stop thinking about it. Meanwhile, the villagers continued to talk about Nnamdi's strange behavior. Why does he laugh and speak in riddles? They asked. Some said he was cursed by the gods, while others believed he had powers to see beyond the living. If he knows the truth, he must share it, an elder said. The pressure on Nnamdi grew, but he remained calm and silent. Unable to ignore Nnamdi's words, Chike decided to investigate. He started asking questions about his father's final days. Did anyone notice something strange before he died? He asked Obina's close friends. One of them, an old man named Okoro, hesitated before answering. Your father wasn't himself in his last week, Okoro said. He complained about a bitter taste in his food. Chike's heart raced. He had always believed his father died of old age. Now, doubts began to grow in his mind. Could Nnamdi be telling the truth? He wondered. Chike's investigation led him to the village herbalist, Adaku, who had prepared medicines for Obina. Did my father come to you before he died? Chike asked her. Adaku nodded. Yes, he came complaining of stomach pain. I gave him herbs to ease it, but I suspected something was wrong, she said. Chike frowned. What do you mean? He asked. Adaku hesitated. It felt like poison, she whispered. Chike's eyes widened. Poison? He repeated. Adaku nodded slowly and sadly. I warned him to be careful, but it was too late. Chike's heart sank. As Chike investigated his father's death, he began hearing more rumors about Amaka's tragic fall. Her closest friend, Ebele, told him about something chilling. Amaka told me she was scared before she died, Ebele said. She discovered something about someone in the village, but she didn't tell me who. Chike's blood ran cold. What did she find out? He asked. Ebele shook her head. I don't know. She just said it was dangerous and that she needed to speak to the elders. Chike realized Amaka's death might not have been an accident. Desperate for answers, Chike returned to Nnamdi's hut late one evening. Nnamdi was sitting outside humming to himself when Chike arrived. You were right, Chike said, his voice heavy with frustration. There is more to my father's death and Amaka's fall than I thought. Nnamdi nodded, his face calm. I told you, the dead don't lie, he said. But now you must decide. Will you uncover the truth or will you let it stay buried? Chike clenched his fists. I need to know the truth, he said firmly. Nnamdi smiled faintly. Then listen carefully, he said. Nnamdi leaned forward, his voice low and serious. The truth you seek is dangerous, Chike. There are people in this village who will do anything to keep their secrets hidden, he said. Chike frowned. Are you saying someone in the village killed my father and Amaka? He asked. Nnamdi nodded. Yes, and they won't stop at anything to protect themselves. You must be careful. Chike felt a mix of anger and fear. Who are they? He demanded. Nnamdi shook his head. That's for you to find out, but be prepared for what comes next. Chike couldn't sleep that night. Nnamdi's words echoed in his mind, and his heart burned with determination. He decided to continue digging, no matter how dangerous it was. Early the next morning, he gathered his father's old friends and asked them to share anything they knew. Most of them denied knowing anything unusual, but one man, Uchenna, spoke up. Your father argued with someone shortly before he died, Uchenna said. Chike leaned forward. Who was it? He asked. Uchenna hesitated before answering. It was your uncle, Ekenne, he finally said. Chike's stomach churned as he heard Uchenna's words. His uncle, Ekenne, was Obina's younger brother, and he had always been close to the family. Why would Uncle Ekenne argue with my father? Chike asked. Uchenna shrugged. I don't know what it was about, but it was heated. They met in secret and your father seemed upset afterwards. Chike decided to confront his uncle. If Ekenne was involved in my father's death, I need to know, he thought. The idea of a family betrayal made him feel sick, but he had to face the truth. Chike went to his uncle Ekenne's home early the next morning. Ekenne was outside sharpening a machete when Chike arrived. Uncle, I need to speak with you, Chike said. His voice was steady but tense. Ekenne looked up surprised. What's wrong, my boy? He asked. Chike didn't hesitate. I know you argued with my father before he died. What was it about? Ekenne's face darkened, and he paused before answering. That's none of your concern, he said sharply. Chike stepped closer. It is my concern. Did you have anything to do with his death? Ekenne slammed the machete onto the table, his face full of anger. How dare you accuse me of something so terrible? He shouted. Your father and I had disagreements, but I loved him like my brother. Chike did not back down. If you have nothing to hide, tell me the truth, he said firmly. Ekenne sighed deeply and sat down. Your father and I fought over the land, he admitted. He wanted me to sell my portion, but I refused. That's all. I would never harm him. Chike wasn't convinced. Something felt off. Frustrated and confused, Chike returned to Nnamdi. I confronted my uncle, but he denied everything, Chike said. Nnamdi nodded, as if he had expected this. The guilty often deny their sins until they are forced to face the truth, he said. Chike frowned. What do you mean? He asked. Nnamdi's eyes grew distant. I've seen it, Chike. The poison was not meant to kill right away. It was slipped into your father's food over time. The one responsible did not act alone, Nnamdi said. Chike's heart sank. Then who helped them? He asked. Determined to uncover the truth, Chike began gathering more clues. He visited the kitchen where the father's meals were always prepared and spoke to the housemaid, Ada. At first, Ada was nervous, avoiding his questions. But when Chike pressed her, she finally broke down. I don't know much, she said tearfully. But your uncle often came to the house and insisted on preparing special meals for your father. He said it was a family recipe. Chike's eyes narrowed. Did my father know about this? He asked. Ada shook her head. He trusted him. Chike realized he couldn't solve his mystery alone. He needed help from someone who knew the village's secrets. He went to the old village storyteller, Mama Nkechi. who had seen many things in her lifetime. Mama, I need your help, he said, sitting beside her on her veranda. She listened quietly as he explained everything. When he finished, she nodded slowly. I've heard whispers, my son, she said. Your uncle has always been jealous of your father's success. If he is involved, you must tread carefully. He's dangerous and clever. While speaking to Mama Nkechi, Chike learned something surprising. Amaka was close to your father, Mama Nkechi said. She often helped him with errands and heard many of his secrets. Chike's heart raced. Do you think Amaka knew about the poison? He asked. Mama Nkechi nodded. It's possible. If she suspected your uncle, it could explain why she was killed. Chike clenched his fist. Then Amaka died because she tried to protect my father, he said. His voice was heavy with guilt. I won't let her death be in vain. Fueled by new information, Chike confronted Ekene a second time. This time, he did not hold back. I know you poisoned my father, he shouted. I know Amaka found about it. Ekene's face turned pale and he stammered. You have no proof. Chike stepped closer. I will find proof, even if I have to dig up every secret in this village, he said. Ekene's expression hardened. Be careful, boy. You don't know who you are accusing. Chike knew he had struck a nerve. I'm not afraid of the truth, he said firmly. As Chike dug deeper, whispers began to spread through the village. Some people supported him, believing he was brave for seeking justice. Others thought he was stirring up trouble. Why can't he let the dead rest? One villager muttered. Even Chike's mother begged him to stop. Your father is gone, my son. Leave it alone before you get hurt, she said. But Chike couldn't stop. If I don't fight for the truth, who will? He replied. He knew the danger, but he was determined to bring justice to his family. One night, Chike found a note slipped under his door. It read, Stop asking questions or you will regret it. His hands shook as he held the paper, but he refused to be intimidated. The next day, he went to Nnamdi and showed him the note. They are trying to scare me, Chike said. Nnamdi nodded. They are afraid of the truth coming out, he said. But you must be strong. The spirits of the dead are on your side. Chike felt a chill run down his spine. I won't stop, he said. Not now. After receiving the threatening note, Chike realized he couldn't face this alone anymore. He turned to Nnamdi for more than just advice. I need your help, Chike said. Whoever killed my father and Amaka is dangerous, but I won't back down. Nnamdi nodded, his face calm. The truth is a heavy burden, but together we will carry it, he said. Nnamdi began sharing more about the visions he had. Your father and Amaka's spirits both point to the same person, Nnamdi said. Chike's heart raced. Is it really my uncle? He asked. Nnamdi hesitated before answering. Yes, Ekene is guilty, he said, but he did not act alone. Someone else helped him. Chike frowned, confused. Who else would do such a thing? He asked. Nnamdi looked at him with sad eyes. Someone close to you, he said quietly. Chike's mind raced. His family was small. His mother, his cousins, and the housemaid Ada. Who could betray us like this? He whispered. Nnamdi placed a hand on his shoulder. You must find out, but tread carefully. The guilty will not confess easily, and the danger is near. Chike decided to question Ada again. This time, he watched her closely for any signs of guilt. Ada, you've worked for my family for years, he began. Did you ever notice anything strange about my uncle's visits? Ada looked nervous, avoiding his eyes. I already told you. He liked to cook for your father, she said. Chike leaned closer. Did you ever see him put anything in the food? He pressed. Ada's hands trembled. I don't know, she stammered. Chike felt his suspicions grow. What are you hiding? He demanded. Finally, Ada broke down in tears. I didn't mean for anyone to die, she cried. Your uncle threatened me. He said if I did not let him into the kitchen, He would hurt my family. Chike's chest tightened. So you knew he was poisoning my father? He asked. Ada nodded, sobbing. I tried to stop him, but he always found a way. I'm so sorry, Chike, she said. Chike felt a mix of anger and sadness. Ada had been forced into helping, but she had still betrayed his family. Why didn't you tell me sooner? He asked. Now that Chike had Ada's confession, he knew he needed proof to confront Ekene. He and Nnamdi came up with a plan. We will gather the elders and expose him in front of everyone, Nnamdi suggested. But we need to catch him off guard. Chike nodded. I will invite him to my house for dinner. We will make him think everything is normal, then reveal the truth, he said. Nnamdi agreed. The spirit of your father and Amaka will guide us, he said. Chike felt a flicker of hope. This ends now, he said. The next evening, Chike invited Ekene to dinner. Ekene arrived, smiling warmly, as if nothing was wrong. It's good to see you, my boy, he said. Chike forced himself to smile back. I wanted us to spend time together, uncle, he said. As they ate, Chike carefully led the conversation towards his father's death. I still think about what happened, he said. Ekene's smile faltered. It was a tragedy, he said, avoiding Chike's gaze. Chike pressed on. Do you think anyone could have hurt him? He asked. Ekene's hand shook slightly. Why would you ask that? He replied. Chike stood, his voice steady. Because I know the truth, uncle. You poisoned my father. Ekene froze, his face turning pale. What are you talking about? He stammered. Nnamdi stepped out from the shadows, holding the written confession Ada had given. We have proof, Nnamdi said. Your accomplice has already confessed. The room felt quiet as Ekene realized he had been caught. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, Ekene muttered. I only wanted to weaken him, not kill him. Chike's anger boiled over. And Amaka, did you kill her too? He demanded. Ekene broke down, his voice shaking. Yes, it was me, he said. Amaka overheard me and Ada talking about the poison. She threatened to go to the elders, so I had to silence her. Chike felt a wave of grief and fury. You betrayed your own family for greed? He shouted. Ekene hung his head. I didn't want this to happen, he said weakly. Nnamdi stepped forward. The spirits of the dead saw everything and now the truth is out, he said. Chike clenched his fist. You would face justice for what you've done, he said. The next day, Chike gathered the village elders and revealed everything. He presented Ada's confession and forced Ekene to repeat his own in front of the crowd. The villagers were shocked and angry. How could you do this to your own brother? One elder demanded. Ekene had no answer. The elders decided he would be banished from the village, and Ada would have to leave as well. You will never hurt anyone here again, the chief elder said. Chike watched as his uncle and Ada were taken away, feeling a mix of relief and sorrow. After the meeting, Chike found Nnamdi sitting under a tree, laughing softly to himself. Why are you laughing now? Chike asked. Nnamdi smiled. Because justice has been served, he said. Your father and Amaka can finally rest in peace. Chike nodded, feeling a weight lift off his shoulders. I couldn't have done it without you, he said. Nnamdi shook his head. The truth was always there, you just needed to see it. For the first time, Chike understood why Nnamdi laughed. It wasn't out of madness, but out of relief when the truth prevailed. With Ekene and Ada gone, the village slowly began to heal. People stopped whispering about Nnamdi and started respecting him. He was strange, but he was right. One elder said, Chike focused on rebuilding his family's reputation and honoring his father's legacy. He planted a tree in a memory of Elder Obina and Amaka, vowing to keep their stories alive. The villagers came together for the first time in years, united by the truth. Life returned to normal, but the memory of what had happened would never fade. One morning, Chike went to visit Nnamdi, but found his hut empty. Nnamdi had left without a word. Where could he have gone? Chike wondered, but deep down he knew. Nnamdi had fulfilled his purpose in Umuokoro. He had brought justice to the dead and peace to the living. As Chike stood outside the empty hut, he heard a faint echo of laughter in the breeze. Smiling, he whispered, "Thank you, Nnamdi." The man who laughed at funerals was gone, but his legacy would remain in the hearts of the villagers forever. Thank you so much for watching. If you got to this point, please give this video a thumbs up. It will help grow my small YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed yet to my YouTube channel, please do well to subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you get notified when I post more interesting content like this. Do well to go through my channel if you haven't done so. I have more interesting videos and interesting topics and stories on my channel. Leave a comment in this video, under this video, and let me know your thoughts about this video. See you guys in my next video. Bye.